So for this medical minute, we're going to talk about grief, the nervous system, and why brain fog is real. I was actually going to film this last Tuesday, but it was the anniversary of my dad's death, and that felt important to say because this video isn't just about losing someone, it's about grief as a nervous system experience. And the plot twist is that was good nervous system care to delay filming. So when most people hear the word grief, they immediately think of death. But from a medical and neurological perspective, grief is any significant loss, which can be the loss of a parent, but it can be the loss of a relationship, a job, an identity, a future you thought you were walking towards, even a version of yourself that you don't recognize anymore. All of those register in the body as loss. And the nervous system doesn't really care what kind of loss it is, it responds to the rupture. So from a nervous system perspective, grief isn't just emotional, it is physiological. When we experience grief, the limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for emotion, memory, and threat detection, stays activated. This includes structures like the amygdala, the hippocampus, which are constantly scanning for safety and meaning. So even if you're functioning, your brain may still be operating in a low-grade survival state. Over time, this leads to elevated cortisol, which is the body's primary stress hormone. Short bursts of cortisol are helpful, but chronic cortisol is exhausting. And when it stays elevated for long periods, it starts to interfere with other systems in the body, especially neurotransmitters like dopamine, which is involved in motivation, focus, pleasure, and reward. So when people say, I don't feel like myself, I can't focus, I feel flat, or nothing feels rewarding anymore, it's not a personal failure. That is a nervous system adapting to prolonged stress and loss. This is also where the brain fog comes in. Grief often affects concentration, memory, and executive function, not because you're lazy or unmotivated, but because your brain is prioritizing emotional processing and threat detection over productivity. Your brain is busy. Another important piece that people don't really talk about enough is the immune system. Chronic stress and elevated cortisol can suppress immune function over time, which is why people experiencing grief often feel run down. They get sick a lot easier, or they feel like they never fully recover their energy. Again, this is not weakness, this is biology. One of the most confusing parts of grief is that it doesn't show up on a predictable timeline. You might feel okay for weeks and then suddenly feel overwhelmed by something small. A song, a smell, a memory, a conversation, some kind of sensory input. That's because grief isn't linear and it does not operate on logic. It lives in our nervous systems. And because of that, some clinicians and trauma-informed providers talk about something called containment. So containment doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means giving your nervous system a predictable window to process these feelings, which can look like scheduling time to grieve. And I know that that might sound a little bit strange at first because you can't control when grief shows up, but you can create intentional space where your body knows it's allowed to feel. That might be 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It might be a walk without headphones or sitting with a warm drink and just breathing. You're not forcing emotions. You're telling your nervous system there's space for this. And I don't have to carry this weight all day. Then outside of that container, regulation becomes about gentleness, lowering expectations, reducing self-criticism, choosing maintenance over optimization. This is not the season for pushing harder. It's the season for supporting your system while it recalibrates. So if you're in a period of grief and your motivation feels gone, your brain feels foggy, or your body feels heavier than usual, that does not mean that you are regressing. It means something meaningful is being processed. Regulation isn't about bypassing grief or rushing healing. It's about allowing grief to move through the nervous system without becoming overwhelming. If your brain feels like it's buffering right now, it's not a character flaw. It might just be your nervous system asking for some compassion. So that is the medical minute I have today on grief. And from my own personal experience, yes, it seems relevant to talk about. And I know this year has been so heavy for so many people I know, which is why I wanted to do it on this topic. Um, and yeah, I know I have been grieving so many different aspects of life. Um, not just the anniversary of my dad's death, but truly, like, one of the hardest losses I experienced was actually the loss of my dog after COVID. And I mean, it took me over a year before I even like wanted to talk to people again. But why I'm so passionate about comedy and everything too is because I started doing like improv classes to like get out there and like and do stand up too, to really like process everything I was going through. Um, and I'm still actively grieving a lot of like lost friendships and like identities that I thought I would be by now or things I would have accomplished by now. But it really isn't about trying to biohack your way through it. And that's something I'm constantly learning. And the more frustrated you get with trying to push and be like, I should be healed by now, like, the harder it is. So I'm just reminding you to be as gentle with yourself as possible. And I think it makes it so much easier and digestible when we can just be like, okay, this isn't me. This is really purely physiological. So I'm sending so much love and light to all of you who are grieving right now, and thank you for watching my medical minute.